Listen closely. A silent turning point rises inside you right now, a shift so subtle that many overlook it, yet it carries the strength to redirect an entire life. Faith over fear, a choice made without noise, without display, yet powerful enough to alter destiny. In my training within the Shaolin path, I discovered that real transformation rarely bursts forth with thunder. It begins deep within the heart-mind, in a space others cannot see. Fear pushes a person into confusion, faith steadies breath, sharpens presence, clears inner vision. This internal step becomes the first gate to mastery. Today's journey will guide you through this hidden gate. You will learn how a calm spirit signals strength to every force around you. You will hear how ancient practice taught warriors to shift pressure into clarity, danger into purpose, hesitation into unwavering alignment. You will uncover insights seldom shared, truths whispered through generations inside temple walls, truths showing that the quiet soul often draws the attention of those with reach, power, and intention. An influential presence may already be observing your strength, not because you shouted, not because you sought recognition, but because your steady inner stance shines brighter than noise or chaos ever could. Stay with me until the final moment of this message, because each layer builds toward an understanding that can raise your path beyond fear, beyond doubt, toward a higher current prepared specifically for you. I am Shihingi. This is Shaolin Soulfire. Welcome to our channel. For more teachings shaped by timeless wisdom, subscribe and walk this path with us. There is a moment when the noise inside you settles, and you can finally hear the truth your soul has been whispering for years. In the Shaolin tradition, we call this moment the awakening of Zen, the unity of heart and mind. Many believe these two parts of us operate separately, the heart pulling in one direction, the mind resisting in another. But in our training, we learn that this separation is the birthplace of fear. Fear thrives where there is conflict inside. It grows in the cracks between emotion and thought, between desire and discipline. When a person chooses faith, something subtle yet profound occurs. The heart begins to trust, and the mind begins to obey. They stop struggling against each other. They begin to breathe together, move together, respond as one. This is sin. This is the inner harmony that shapes a warrior into a master. I remember a lesson from my early years in the temple. My master said, "When your heart trembles but your mind marches forward, you walk crooked. When your mind doubts but your heart wants to leap, you stumble. But when they stand side by side, even the storm will bow before you." Only later did I understand the depth of his words. Faith is the bridge that unites these two forces. It does not erase fear, it integrates it. It turns fear into awareness, and awareness into clarity. Through this unity, the body moves with purpose, the breath becomes steady, and decisions arise from strength rather than panic. This alignment is not loud. It does not need to be seen. Yet it radiates outward, unmistakable to those who can sense energy, intention, and character. This is why the one who chooses faith becomes noticeable even without trying. This is why they become chosen. Fear rarely arrives with a shout. It slips in through moments of distraction, when the mind scatters and the breath becomes shallow. In the Shaolin path, we learn that fear feeds on chaos, the kind that grows quietly inside when awareness fades. Mindfulness is the blade that cuts through that inner fog. Each morning in the temple, the day began with breath, not for strength, not for performance, but for clarity. Slow inhalation, steady exhalation, the mind watching the rise and fall as if observing a quiet river. With every cycle, the noise inside became softer. The thoughts that once tangled together loosened. The emotions that once stirred restlessness grew still. Breath is the anchor. An anchored breath makes it difficult for fear to find a place to stay. Presence is the second weapon. True presence is not simply noticing your surroundings, it is noticing yourself within them. The weight of your steps, the sensation of energy in your palms, the feeling behind a thought before you accept it as truth. When you train the mind to witness instead of react, fear loses its advantage. It can no longer surprise you. Grounding completes the trio. When the soles of the feet meet the earth with full awareness, You reconnect with the stability beneath you. In ancient teachings, it is believed that the earth absorbs scattered energy. Standing still, with breath deep and attention calm, the body becomes centered, and centeredness is something fear cannot penetrate. This is why choosing faith is not a sudden miracle. It is a discipline, a practice repeated in quiet moments long before difficulty arrives. Through breath, presence, and grounding, the mind becomes clear enough to choose faith intentionally, not as a desperate response, but as a path walked with steady steps. There comes a point on the path where your inner world grows stronger than your outer circumstances, and without realizing it, you begin to radiate a different kind of presence. In the Shaolin tradition, this shift is subtle but unmistakable. Energy changes before actions do. Intention strengthens before results appear. And when this happens, those who are sensitive, both in the spiritual world and the human world, begin to notice. Monks are trained to observe what cannot be spoken. A person may stand still and say nothing, yet their energy reveals everything: their fears, their discipline, their clarity, their confusion. Words can hide truth, but energy cannot. When someone consistently chooses faith over fear, their energy becomes steady, like a flame that no longer flickers in the wind. That steadiness is rare, and anything rare draws attention. In ancient stories, elders often recognized future leaders long before they accomplished anything. They watched how a person breathed in difficulty, how they responded to uncertainty, how quickly they returned to center after being pushed off balance. The one who steadied their spirit instead of collapsing into fear was always marked as someone prepared for greater purpose. This same principle exists today. A mentor, a guide, a spiritual force, even a powerful individual who observes quietly from a distance, they sense your shift. Not because you speak louder, not because you display confidence, but because your inner mastery has begun to shape the atmosphere around you. Faith produces a grounded presence, and grounded presence feels safe, reliable, and strong. People of influence, whether earthly or unseen, are drawn to this stability. They recognize the discipline behind it. They see the character that has been forged in silence. And in that recognition, the path opens for guidance, support, or reward to step toward you. There is a way of moving through life that feels as though the world is opening doors before you instead of closing them. In Shaolin teaching, this way is known as Wu Wei, the art of acting without force. It does not mean doing nothing. It means acting without struggle, without inner conflict, without the frantic push that comes from fear. When a person chooses faith, their movements shift. They stop fighting life at every turn. The breath becomes steady, the mind becomes clear, and decisions arise from a place of understanding rather than panic. Challenges still appear, but they are met with a different posture, one that does not resist, but responds. In the temple, young disciples often try to prove their strength by pushing harder, forcing their bodies to obey, battling frustration with intensity. But the elders moved differently. Their steps were soft, their gestures simple, their energy seamless. They acted with precision, yet without strain. One elder used to say, "If your spirit fights you, your body will follow. If your spirit flows, the world will not oppose you." This is the essence of Wu Wei. Effort is not removed. Unnecessary effort is, you no longer swim against the current of life. You allow the river to carry you, guiding your strokes instead of overpowering them. Faith creates the trust required for this. Trust in timing, trust in intuition, trust in the unseen forces that shape your path. In this state, support begins to appear naturally. Guidance comes from unexpected places. Protection arises before danger fully forms. Opportunities align without force. This is not luck. It is the natural consequence of no longer resisting your own path. When you move with life instead of against it, life moves with you. This is the quiet strength of Wu Wei. There is a reward that arrives long before recognition, long before opportunity, long before any visible change appears. It is quiet, but it is the foundation of all future strength. This reward is emotional mastery, the ability to navigate the inner world with steadiness rather than surrender. In the Shaolin tradition, mastery does not begin with skill. It begins with the breath. Breath is the messenger between body and mind, and the first sign of chaos is always found in the way a person breathes. Shallow, rapid breathing feeds fear. Unsteady breath feeds doubt. But when breath becomes slow and deliberate, the mind settles and emotion softens its grip. Stillness is the second pillar. Many imagine stillness as inactivity, but in truth, it is a powerful discipline. To sit without reacting, to observe without being pulled into every emotion, to let thoughts rise and fall like clouds without chasing them. This is training. In ancient practice, monks were taught that the one who can sit through their own storm can walk through any storm outside. Martial discipline completes this triad. Physical training is never just physical. Each movement teaches restraint, timing, and awareness. A punch thrown in anger lacks accuracy. A punch delivered from calm intention hits its mark. Through repetition, the body learns not to respond impulsively. It learns to wait, to feel, to choose. And this same control transfers into daily life, into conversations, decisions, and challenges. When fear tries to rise, emotional mastery steadies it. When doubt whispers, discipline quiets it. When anger or impatience attempts to take over, breath and stillness dissolve their edge. This is the true mark of one who is chosen, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to guide emotion instead of being guided by it. Before any outward blessing arrives, this inner reward prepares you to receive it. There comes a time when the world begins to respond to the strength you built in silence. Not through announcements, not through ambition, but through the quiet stability you carry. In both the spiritual realm and the physical world, this stability commands respect. It is recognized long before you recognize it yourself. Within ancient Shaolin circles, elders would watch disciples closely, not during moments of success, but during moments of pressure. Anyone can appear balanced when life is gentle, but the one who breathes steadily when confronted with difficulty, the one whose spirit remains unshaken even when the ground shifts, reveals a different level of maturity. That steadiness speaks louder than any declaration of strength. The same truth applies outside temple walls. Leaders, mentors, guides, and unseen forces sense this grounded presence. They notice the way you return to center after being tested. They observe how you choose patience over panic, clarity over chaos, and faith over fear. These choices create a signal, quiet but unmistakable, that you are ready for greater responsibility, greater opportunities, and greater support. In the spiritual world, this readiness is felt as alignment. Forces that once stood back begin to move closer. Doors that remained closed begin to loosen. Paths that were hidden begin to reveal themselves. Not because you chased anything, but because your inner stability allows you to walk with purpose rather than desperation. In the human world, influential individuals recognize the same qualities. They see reliability, calmness, and inner strength. They see someone who won't collapse under pressure, someone who can carry trust, responsibility, wisdom. This recognition is not accidental. It is earned through discipline, humility, and faith. The external reward comes when the inner world is prepared. Faith becomes the signpost that tells the universe and those watching within it that you are ready for the next step. Many believe that destiny turns on a single dramatic moment, a bold act, a sudden display of courage, a heroic decision made at the edge of fear. But in Shaolin teaching, this idea is incomplete. True strength is not built in one moment. It is shaped through consistency, through the quiet repetition of small disciplines that reshape the inner landscape. In the temple, the most respected disciples were not the loudest or the fastest. They were the ones who showed up every day with the same steady breath, breath that did not waver when challenged, breath that carried intention instead of panic. Consistent breath becomes a kind of inner compass, always pointing you back to balance. Calm responses form the second foundation. When frustration rises or uncertainty presses in, the disciplined mind refuses to react impulsively. It pauses, breathes, observes, and then chooses its next step. This calmness is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the strength to guide emotion rather than be guided by it. Daily clarity is another quiet discipline. a moment each day to realign your thoughts, your intentions, and your spirit. Some monks did this through meditation, others through slow movement, others through reciting ancient teachings. The method mattered less than the consistency. Clarity practiced daily becomes clarity lived naturally. Then comes mindful presence, the art of fully inhabiting each moment, feeling the ground beneath your feet, listening without rushing, speaking with awareness. Presence transforms ordinary actions into training for the soul. Together, these habits create a magnetic energy. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that draws respect, guidance, and opportunity toward you. Being chosen is not a title granted suddenly, it is a state earned through steady discipline. Each small act, repeated with sincerity, shapes the strength that others and the universe itself cannot help but notice. Fear is not an enemy to be defeated, it is a message waiting to be understood. In Shaolin wisdom, fear is seen as trapped energy, raw, restless, and powerful. Left unchecked, it scatters the mind and disrupts the spirit. But when observed with calm, it becomes fuel rather than obstacle. In the early days of training, novices often trembled at the thought of their own limitations. Some ran from it, some fought it. But the masters taught a different way. Breathe into the fear, feel it fully, and let it guide you toward insight. Every heartbeat of anxiety contains a hidden instruction, a hint of what the mind values, a signal of what the spirit needs to confront. Transforming fear begins with focus. When attention rests on the present moment, fear loses its power to distract. Every inhalation and exhalation becomes a tool to channel the restless energy. The chaotic pulse of worry is steadied into clarity, like a river redirected into a purposeful stream. From clarity emerges intention. Every movement, every choice, every thought becomes guided by purpose rather than reaction. The energy that once paralyzed is now directed to act, to persist, to grow. Shaolin teachings say that the warrior who can harness this energy does not simply survive challenge, they transform it into a force that carries them toward destiny. This is the essence of transformation, turning what could have destroyed you into what defines you. Fear becomes a teacher, not a tyrant. The energy it once consumed is returned as momentum, pushing the mind and heart into alignment with a path only visible to those who move through, not away from, their own hesitation. It is this mastery over fear, this transmutation of raw energy into focused purpose, that prepares the way for the reward, not because it is given, but because it has been earned. There is a rhythm to life that cannot be hurried. In the Shaolin tradition, we learn that timing is as important as action. Fear pushes the mind to rush, to demand results before the moment is ready. Faith, however, waits. Faith trusts the current beneath the surface, the invisible hand guiding each step, each breath, each decision. Many disciples struggle at first because patience feels like inaction. They want to see proof, to feel the shift immediately, but the masters teach that rushing fractures clarity. When the heart hurries ahead of purpose, opportunities pass unnoticed. When the spirit pushes too forcefully, doors that were meant to open slowly remain closed. Choosing faith allows a different path. It is not passive, it is aligned. Every small action becomes part of a greater rhythm. The mind remains steady, the body poised, and the spirit receptive. In this state, challenges unfold at the perfect pace, and guidance, sometimes human, sometimes divine, arrives naturally, often through someone prepared to meet you exactly where you are. Ancient stories tell of warriors who waited patiently at crossroads, seemingly idle, while unseen forces orchestrated events around them. Only later did they understand that the timing of their steps had allowed their destiny to unfold without resistance. They were ready because they had aligned themselves with the flow, not because they forced the world to obey. Faith creates this alignment. It transforms waiting into preparation, silence into understanding, stillness into readiness. The universe responds, not to demand, but to harmony. Support appears when it is most effective. Guidance comes when it can be fully received, and opportunity arrives in a way that strengthens rather than overwhelms. To move in rhythm with higher timing is to recognize that life's greatest gifts arrive not at our insistence, but in perfect correspondence with the clarity and patience we cultivate within ourselves. Choosing faith over fear is more than a decision. It is a practice of inner mastery. It brings the heart and mind into harmony, cultivates discipline, and sharpens awareness. Each quiet act of presence, each steady breath, each moment of calm builds a foundation that the universe recognizes. Shaolin wisdom teaches that when you remain grounded, mindful, and aligned, life responds. Opportunities appear, guidance finds you, and sometimes someone influential steps forward to acknowledge the strength you have quietly cultivated. This is not luck. It is the natural result of inner work, patience, and unwavering faith. Carry this practice into your daily life. Pause before reacting. Breathe when fear rises. Choose clarity over chaos. Let your actions reflect your inner steadiness, and you will begin to notice how the world shifts in response. May each step you take in faith guide you toward the support, recognition, and growth that you deserve. Live with awareness, act with intention, and allow the quiet strength within to shine outward. If this teaching resonated with you, join our journey. Like this video, subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire, and walk the path of mastery with us, one mindful step at a time.